We've spent some time adding and subtracting and multiplying square roots. So today we'll be dividing square roots. And there's really two skills that you're applying when you're dividing square roots. You're applying your ability to simplify square roots or radicals, and you're applying your ability to simplify fractions. And if you can do both of those things relatively well, then this is something you already have all the tools for. Let's start with this problem. The square root of 54 over 6. Since it's over 6, this is just divided by 6, right? These mean the same thing. The square root of 54 divided by 6. The thing is we probably will never represent it using the division symbol. We'll almost exclusively use the fraction bar for division. So let's get started. Let's simplify the square root first. Well, we know that 54 is 9 times 6. We're not doing anything with the denominator. And we know the square root of 9 is 3, so this becomes 3 root 6 all over 6. So now we have some numbers that are inside the square root and some numbers that are outside the square root. And we want to focus right now on the things that are inside, specifically this fraction, 3 over 6. How does 3 over 6 simplify? Well, that just simplifies into 1/2. So this would become 1 square root of 6, and we normally wouldn't write the 1 down, all over 2. There's nothing else we can do because the 6 is in the square root and the 2 is outside, so they're, say, slightly different kinds of terms, so they wouldn't simplify and we would stop there. Why don't you try one on your own? Let's try the square root of 32 over 8. Go ahead and hit pause and you give that a shot. Let's see how you did. There's probably a couple different ways you could have done it. How I would have done this is I know that 32 is 16 times 2. And all that would stay over 8. And the square root of 16 is 4. So this would be 4 root 2 over 8. And the stuff outside the square root, I'm going to circle it in red. 4/8 is what I can reduce. And 4 over 8 is also 1/2. So this is just 1 square root of 2 over 2. Let's try a different one, but similar to this. I'll do another page. Let's try the square root of 75 over 15. The square root of 75 over 15. Hit pause and give it a shot. Let's see how you did. 75 is 25 times 3. And we know that the square root of 25 is 5, so this would become 5 root 3 over 15. And 5 over 15, those are the numbers outside the square root, so that'll reduce to root 3 over 3, because 5/15 is the same as a third. How'd you do? Let's change gears here. You've already seen problems like what I'm about to show you. We'll write it this way. 6 minus the square root of 24. And all of that is over 12, or divided by 12. See what you can do with this based on what you already know. Hit pause and see what you can do. Alright, let's see how you did. Now what I would do is I would break this up into 6 over 12 minus root 24 over 12. And I know that 6 over 12 is 1/2. And the square root of 24, well, that's just 4 times 6. But the square root of 4 is 2, so this is 2 root 6 over 12. But the 2 and the 12, since they're outside the square root, that fraction will reduce. And 2/12 is the same as a 6. So this is 1/2 minus root 6 over 6. And some people would say that this is a fine answer. So this is fine. Other people, though, would want you to combine it back together, and they would use the reasoning, since the problem started as a single fraction, it should end as a single fraction. So just to let you know how you could do that, well, these don't have a common denominator, but I do know that 1/2 is the same as 3/6. So I could write this as 3 minus root 6 all over 6. As far as I'm concerned, either one of these are acceptable answers. You may see different things from different teachers or different backs of the book. Let's have you try one more like that. But I bet you're doing real well. So let's say the problem is 8 minus the square root of 40 all over 10. Hit pause and see what you can do with that. Let's see how you did. This is the same thing as 8/10 minus the square root of 40 over 10. And 8/10 is just everything's divisible by 2. That's not right. 8/10 is the same as 4/5. And the square root of 40, well, that's 4 times 10. But the square root of 4 is 2, so this is 2 root 10 over 10. And 2/10 reduces to 1/5, so this is root 10 over 5. I'm going to go one step further, since these already have a common denominator. Put this as 4 minus the square root of 10 all over 5. Right, the reason I went further in this case is since they already had a common denominator, just felt like going further. Hope this makes sense.